The name of the God, the compassionate, the merciful. Good morning, Professor. Good morning, everyone. Language and identity, Anglo-American literature and creative writing. My presentation is language, identity, cultural. Introduction. Language plays vital role establishing and maintaining what we call culture, including conventions, habits, and interpretive practices of the individuals and countries. Through language, we create and share with other identities, categories, attitudes, values, and belief structures. Culture and language reveal important aspects of society, behavior, and how people are organized activities, forming social relationship with the new member building or resisting authority. Language is not just system governed its own internal rules and logic, but it is a system of tools, constitutions of social life and culture for anyone acquiring a new language. Language is the system of communication comprising codes and symbols which is used by humans to store, retrieve, organize, structure, and communicate knowledge and experience. Language is not a static process. Its primary instrument in the expression, transmission, and adaptation of culture. Language is used to maintain one's own culture and to acquire a new culture and new knowledge. The learning of a second of foreign language enables one to view life through another cultural lens. The system of word or a sign that people use to express thought and feelings to each other. Spoken and writing language. Language is the primary means we manage our social life when it is used in communication context. The words uttered by people refer to shared experience, and these words are used to explain transable facts, ideas, and events because they refer to store of knowledge. Functions of language. Three main functions of language: culture, perspective. It is perceiving, the primary means of perceiving the culture. It is medium, transmitting the culture of a new generation. It helps establish and perceive community by linking individual into communities of shared identity. Societal level, it is important to all aspects of human interaction because it is often related to political goals. Culture is that complex tool that includes knowledge, belief, art, moral law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. Culture is a broader umbrella concept, and that language is a part of the culture. In the early year of socialization, both of linguistic and culture symbolic system that individual is raised in will play an instrumental role of socializing and individuals and shaping his perceptions and his persona. In reality, culture is dynamic. It is a permutation, can take place from one generation to another, to from one geographical location to another. Culture is still composed of socially shared elements, socially shared norms, codes of behavior, values, and assumptions about the world that clearly distinguish what sociocultural group from another. Anthropologists and social scientists basically agree that sharing a culture of a group means being able to operate ethically in that particular group. Identity is the individual's concept of the self as well as the individual's interpretation of the social definition of the self within his/her inner group and the large society. Identity formation is not simply conscious process but is influenced by unconscious psychological process. Identity is a dynamic, complex, and ongoing process. Note in 1997 defines identity as how people understand their relationship to the outside world, how that relationship is constructed across time and space, and how people understand their possibilities for the future. The relationship between language, culture, and identity is an interlinking one. Culture is inextricably linked to language. Without language, culture cannot be completely required, and nor can it be effectively expressed and transmitted. Without culture, language cannot exist. Language and culture are so interconnected that it is difficult to define the parameters of language and culture and whether language impacts culture or vice versa. Relationship between language and culture. Structure of the language determines the way the language that speaker of the language view the language of the world. Culture is reflected in language. Cultural requirements do not determine structure language, but influence how it is used. And for example, the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, Sapir 1928. Human beings do not live in society alone. Language of the society predisposes center choices and interpretation about how we view the world. We categorize objects in the schema laid by the language, and if we do not subscribe to this classification, we cannot talk or communicate. And finally, or conclusion, it is not possible to talk about culture in isolation from the language. It is part of the culture of society through that which the individual can express his feeling and problems. It distinguishes between individuals. Language is intellectual and cultural that protects and preserves its existence. Her personality and means of communication play an active role in building or forming its identity and culture, ensuring its cohesion and the continuity of its generation. Thank you very much.